What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Payne. Welcome back to another Street Fighter Duel video in the June edition of the tier list. That's right, we're going to be doing one for PvE, PvP, vehicles, and we're going to be doing the last one for bosses. Not in that order. We'll start off with PvE though. So there are obviously a few new additions to the game and a couple changes that we need to make along the way. So a couple notable changes that I did make here along the way is I've upped Viper and Guile up to the SS rank after some discussion, obviously, and I kept saying this in all my other videos that they're S+, but they are SS for free-to-play. This is a tier list for everybody, right? So for free-to-play players, even for whales, to be quite honest, and dolphins, Guile and Viper are going to be some of your main DPS in your team 2, 3s, and 4s when you get to that content. So definitely deserve to be up there. I know Solo's going to attack me on this one, probably, but Honda is very close to SS as a tank. He pretty much is the best tank in the game. I think I've talked about this plenty of times. So he's viable to be up there, but Gamer Dad, actually, shout out to him, noticed that the bulletproof, the stops range attacks wasn't working as intended. So we're going to do some testing today to see if that's actually the case, because it works for me, but for him it's not. So we're going to look at some videos and test it out. So if it does work as intended and and the next one rolls around, we may put him up to SS as well as one of the best tanks in the game, obviously. But just so you know, he is going to be there. Some other changes real quick that we also made is, let me just go back to my old tier list here. So I moved Dante up to S because with the 6 cars, obviously this is about 6 cars maxed out, FS, etc. He does become a great interrupt, so I put him an S instead of an A. What else did we move? I put Elena up back to S+. She was originally S+. I moved her down to S, back to S+ now because she is going to be needed for teams 2, 3, and 4, right? When you get to that content again. So she has moved up. I've moved Guy up 1 level to S because he actually can interrupt, believe it or not. If you have a anchor unit, so the 3rd unit doing a special, starting off with a special, and you time his special as well at the same time, you can actually interrupt them by knocking them up in the air, and it stops the entire combo completely. So that's there. Chun-Li is moved up to S+ as well instead of S because I think she deserves it. She's been there for quite a while, but we've talked about how much better she is. And I also moved Vega from A to S+ because of his speed, right? So Bizang is great, but you also need other speedy characters. He's actually the highest base speed in the game. So Vega gets that as well too. Plus his C3 actually does a lot of damage. So adding him there plus his AoE with his cars brings a lot more utility. Okay, so just a couple changes there, just so you guys are aware. Some more units have been added, of course, and we're going to talk about Flame Chun-Li real quick. She's still going to sit in... She's actually going to move to S, sorry. She was teetering between A. Now, Boukish is the one that gave me the review on her because he's got her completely maxed out and he's been using her for a while. He says she teeters between S and A, but he thinks S is a decent one, so we're going to toss her in S instead of an A. If I had another category for Chun-Li, she will probably be S+ as well. She isn't a necessary unit, but she's an incredible unit. So definitely for PvE, S+ for her. I'd say probably on par with Rose, maybe a little better in some situations and sometimes not. And then S Yang for sure gets S+ as the second, in my opinion, second best support unit in the game. And now EvoEazzy. If there was a category up here that was above SS, I'd put him there. So I'm going to put him first in line here above Bison. Now, the main reason why, if you guys haven't seen the videos, you guys can check it out. He has his own Setsu no Iki, which reduces his own soul damage, can stack up to 100% soul damage reduction, can reduce 50% of all other elements, gives his units buffs, right? He can also give... also ignores damage immunity, so he can kill Bison right from the get-go, Honda from the get-go, Abel with his shield. So there's a lot of things he brings to the table. He has trigger attacks, so a lot of utility coming from him. He boosts his own Dragon Slam move as well too. So a lot coming through for EvoEazzy. Now the beauty of him is the fact that he's not in challenge mode yet. So Bison still has a major role to play. So in story mode, because this is a PvE tier list, Bison still is going to be probably the best unit because you don't have an EvoEazzy to stop him. But eventually when they release new stages and they put EvoEazzy in those stages, Bison might lose a little bit of his stature in those stages. But we're talking about like stage 42 and up, right? Everyone else pretty much stays the same across the board. And that is your PvE tier list, guys. So if you have any questions or comments, you know where to hit me up in the comment section. And we can talk about and debate about who belongs where. But again, I think this is going to be the most well-rounded PvE tier list out there, with a lot of suggestions from... So my EvoEazzy Suggestions are from EvoEazzy, who did the massive amount of testing for me, so shout out to him. Boukish for Flame Chun-Li, and Solo for A Chun-Li, right? So those are and Yang I did myself, and I've used him like a lot, profoundly through every single content for PvE. So again, these guys are going to be your best units from SS, S plus to S. Those guys are going to carry you the furthest in the PvE landscape, and anyone from A below have some use, mostly in like towers and stuff, but they're not going to be the ones you use mostly in your teams. They could be decent assists though. That's not a bad thing either. So keep that in mind. All right, guys. So there's your PvE tier list. The next one we're going to do is the PvP. I'll be back with that one. All right, boys and girls, welcome back to the second part of the tier list. Now we're going to be covering PvP. So as you can see here, not much has changed from the original. We've got a few alterations that were made. So let's actually talk about some of these real quick while we can. Let me go to my existing tier list that I have for PvP, and let's see what we did for alterations. Now, if we go to the PvP section of my tier list, the biggest changes here is the fact that we added in, let me just double check here, make sure I'm saying this correctly. Actually, you know what? I think the only change here, is the fact that Flame Chun-Li right here is going to move over to S instead. Now, I was talking to Boken about it. He was teetering between the two, but he does think that she does have some value for like Fashion Blanca teams. So putting her in S made more sense. Again, I'm going according to his I'm going to say expert opinion, because he loves this character and uses her all the time. So we did a conversation between him and Solo for A Chun-Li. So Solo, I believe A Chun-Li, he believes that she's an S plus, probably the best support for PvP, like hands down at this point. So definitely worth having for PvP, especially. Yang, my opinion, you can probably put him in S plus as well for a solo for support. The shield, the buffs, and the fact that he does the heal as well at the same time. So and he scales off defense, so he's actually fairly tanky for a support unit. So I would put him in S as well too. I wouldn't say he doesn't bring quite as much as A Chun-Li does in terms of the amount of utility she offers, but I believe he has the essentials to be there. So if you're looking for good utility, I would definitely put him up there. And then, of course, EvoRyu. So here's the thing. I was talking to EvoEazzy, who's done a lot of testing, like a lot of testing. And I believe he mentioned that for PvP, he will for sure be an SS. That was easy. Now we were thinking, would he be the best SS for PvP? It's hard to say, only because he does do a lot of, obviously, buffs on himself. Obviously has a lot of elemental damage reduction. He does take away a little bit of HP from the initial team. So with PvP being so cleave, it might be a little bit detrimental, but he himself brings so much to the table that for sure Evo thinks that EvoRyu belongs in this category 110%. So there you guys have it. That's the PvP setup here. Will EvoRyu be the best PvP unit? It's hard to say, because the thing is, everybody uses Bison in PvP, and if you have EvoRyu, all of a sudden, Bison becomes a little bit less important. So it might change the landscape how PvP is handled now, especially in final showdowns and stuff, right? Where EvoRyu is going to be dominating most likely those forms of arenas. So time will tell if he's going to be the best PvP unit, or if he's just going to be an average PvP, not average, sorry, like a god tier unit, but like not the best of them all. So Akuma does, in my opinion, still have a leg up, only because he's faster. But if you're like running Bizang and Akuma, chances are you're just doing Bizang for speed, or if you have Vega, you're probably using him for speed as well, or maybe a C3, which will be rare really for him, to be honest with you, in PvP. But nonetheless, you have a couple speedy characters that can take that from Akuma and give it to EvoRyu, right? So again, time will tell where he stands, but right now this is the setup here. You guys can see it's going to be an extra added into the double S. Nothing from A Chun-Li's added to the S plus, and Yang's added to the S plus, and then we moved Flame Chun-Li up to S for PvP. So that's the PvP tier list, guys. We're going to be moving on now to the bosses, and we're going to cover it to see who has gone up, gone down, and where the newest units belong. All right, guys. I'll talk to you guys on the next one. All right, guys, welcome back. So now we're going to be on part 3 of the tier list, and it is going to be bosses and events. So events include like the one that's happening now with EvoRyu, which is Deep into the Abyss. So you fight bosses, you fight enemies, right, etc. You rally up a score, get leadership scores. So a couple changes have happened from the last one. I want to go through those real quick before we jump on the new 4 units and the change of Flame Chun-Li. If you guys didn't catch the video with Bookin and Solo and myself talking about Athlete Chun-Li and Flame Chun-Li, there's a lot of data behind it, a lot of good conversations, so you guys can go back and obviously rewatch that if you want to know why exactly we made the changes. But a Couple notable changes here, just so you guys are aware. The SS Plus or SS section has not changed. The S Plus section I added in Vega here, and I tossed the Elena up there because we're starting to see now bosses where there is multiple teams, right? And Elena could definitely be used in there for her healing. And if you have her at FS 30, obviously the battle dance is kind of nice to have for the speed and the attack up. And Vega, of course, because of the bleed, this blind bleed, and the fact that his C3 does insane amount of damage if you guys can get the boss's HP low enough, because then he starts chipping away at the boss's health. Plus, he has an incredible bleed. So really, really good unit, and he's super fast. So you're going to be able to attack first and build that super gauge fairly quickly. Another unit that's been added there is going to be Dalsim. Dalsim was originally S for some reason. I don't know why I had him in S, but he's an S plus for sure. You can see him in fights like Loki, where he absolutely dominated with his burns, and the fact that he can do two yoga catastrophes as well as his yoga flame does incredible damage. But the burn stacks is what really makes him good for DPS. On that. Now, two units that went down the list is actually Gen and Jury, because they've actually kind of lost their flair in boss fights. Most people don't use them anymore. I use Gen right now for my C2 on my third team with Trendy Cammy, just to give her a C2 to use, because everyone else is being used up. But I find that he's probably not any longer going to be used that often outside of maybe his assist, but I don't even know if that's still working or not. And then Jury, of course, has kind of fallen down. Now, I don't know if that's going to change with Jury, because she may eventually have a team built around her, but I just feel like people are power creeping her so hard now, right? Another change that happened is I took Blanca off from S and I put him down to A. Seldom used, obviously, in boss fights. His counter is great. His interrupt is not going to help. His electric shield is decent, and he does shock like a really low percentage of it. So that's been adjusted a little bit. Makoto went from A to B. Just again, can't justify using her at all in boss fights. So let's talk about the new units, right? So going back to Flame Chun-Li, she was originally an S, and now I'm being, with data proven, obviously, she easily jumps up to SS. So she's going to be one of those boss units that you definitely want to have, not only because she complements other flame units with her crit and her flame vulnerability, but also because she actually does do pretty decent damage herself. So Boukish was adamant about this, and he showed me a lot of data behind his findings and proved it to me that he was beating out a lot of bigger whales by using her specifically where they didn't use her. So she's a great assist, but she's also a great team unit for boss fights. So Flame Chun-Li definitely belongs in SS according to him. So I'm going to believe him because he gave me the data. I have no reason to argue that at all, right? So that's something I want to make sure you guys understand. Like, I'm not here to, I don't have the unit, so I don't want to take away from, again, the experts' opinions, use those quotations, because some of you may not think that person's an expert, but for me, the data has been shown, the videos have been shown, and it was worth noting that they put a lot of effort into the data. So now for Athlete Chun-Li, Solo thinks A has some utility, has a couple extra buffs for damage, but unfortunately we don't really know her full extent in bossing, because there's just way better units out there for support, such as Street Poison, right? Elena and S Yang. So we don't know what her true potential is yet. So he was comfortable putting her in A for now, maybe teetering on the S category, but he wanted A for now just to make sure. Summer Yang, I'd probably say S as well. Based on the buffs that he offers, the shield and the heal. He might be even categorically up okay with S plus as well. But I'm going to keep him A for now to do more testing, just because he's a fairly new unit. So you guys can see these tier lists do go up and down based on more testing, more events that come out, and the new requirements for bosses. New bosses arrive, and things just kind of alter a little bit, right? So that's the whole point of a tier list. It's a moving target. Like that's the whole idea behind making sure that every month we do an up-to-date one, including old units, so they don't go stale in their categories, okay? And lastly, for bosses, Evil Ryu is arguable. So he does really, really well as a support, and he also does really well as a damage dealer. Not as well as someone like Akuma does, obviously, but he can still kind of teeter between S plus and S. So, or SS, sorry, I should say. We're going to toss him in SS here just because of the triggers that he offers, the buffs that he offers, and the fact that he is next to impossible to kill by bosses because they're all elemental. So if you build him up high enough, he just doesn't die and he just continues doing damage, right? So with that alone, the survivability alone and the extra damage that he puts out with his triggers, Definitely believe he's an SS for sure, but there is argument to put him in S plus, depending on the damage output versus some of the other units on this list, right? But keep in mind, he doesn't have to be just a damage unit. He could also bring so much utility to the fight that he's almost a must-have. Like pairing him and Akuma together, for example, would be a really good boss fight. Whether he's the assist for Akuma or if he's on the same team for Akuma, they work really well together in tandem. So, and we've showed videos on that, right? Obviously, we're using EvoEazzy's data from the Akuma versus Evo Ryu section. So this is the list. I think this is a fair list. If there's any questions or concerns, guys, obviously let me know in the comment section. This is what we do. We talk about it, we discuss it, and then we make alterations the next month, right? So I'm not saying I want to alter it right away, but if your comment makes sense and we do a little bit of testing and things look good, we will make the adjustments on the next month, and I'll mention it on the video. So thank you guys for watching this one. Off to the last tier list, and that's going to be the vehicle tier list, and let you know which vehicles are must-haves versus which ones are just like, they're okay. All right, guys, I'll catch you on that one. All right, guys, last part of the tier list, and that is going to be the vehicles. Now, let's talk about a few changes and upgrades that we've done and a few move-arounds, and notable ones especially, right, that we want to talk about. So first off, at the top section there, Jury has now dropped from SS down to S+. Unfortunately, she's not being used quite as often, even though her cars are amazing for her. Just no need to have her sitting around that area because, again, she's been kind of power crept. So now she's kind of sitting in the same area as Fashion Blanca. Really, he doesn't need all 6 cars to do what he does, right? So I did also move so that's the SS+. Okay, so the S+ section, I'm just trying to see what I did here in terms of changes. I moved Rose down a slot to S because she really doesn't need her cars at all to shine. That's kind of what makes the Rose so appealing, is the fact that you don't have to even SSS her for her to really play out, because she just needs her FS20, I believe, to really push her envelope for her cards and her buffs, and that's kind of what you have her there, is just kind of kicking around. You don't even want to use her C2 at the same time. She just does random card buffs anyway, so kind of useful there for that. So I put her down to S because I don't think S+ is significant for her, so you don't really want to focus on her cards that much. But I did move up C Viper. So Viper does become an incredibly good assist unit, support unit, because she offers anybody with armor energy +5 on the team the shield that she gets as well, which can protect you instead not get you killed, and also gives you super gauge. So I think that's a very useful thing in all content. So for that utility, she gets an S+, so definitely move her up. I've also moved up for the A section. I moved up Vega to S, so we're going to cover the S. As you guys can see, Dawson became SS, so that was actually a big change. Sorry, I didn't mention that. Dawson became an SS. He was an S last time. So the reason why is obviously the stacking of penance, Yoga Tower, quicker makes him do burns at an extreme rate, and also his Yoga Catastrophe happens twice, so definitely makes him a top tier DPS. I've been using him for all my teams for a very long time with my 6 cards, but I just never found the significance of it. Now with testing with Tixis and a few others, they've kind of shown me, yeah, you know what, actually he's pretty damn crazy with those cards. So definitely put Dalsim all the way up to the SS tier, so he actually has moved all the way up there. So S tier, the biggest change here, I think, from what it looks like, is again drop from S+ to S. I put Vega from A to S for his AoE utility. Obviously, we've put Fashion Sakura into S instead of S+, and I'm just trying to see, and I put Blanca, original Blanca, from B to S. Now, the reason why he jumped up so much is he actually doesn't interrupt with his cars, from what I'm being told from people who has been testing, so I'll take the word on it. I haven't personally done the full testings. I don't have 6 cars for him, but I've noticed he does interrupts even with his counter, so I don't know if that's a mistake or not, but his 6 cards are actually pretty useful. So I put him in S, so he sits down, and everything else in S pretty much stays the same. For A, I'm just trying to see if there's any difference from the last one. Sorry, guys, I'm just checking out the old list here. No changes there. Of course, some people moved up. So like Vega was A, he moved up to S. Let's see, B. I moved Elena's to B, only because she can help you survive for 16 seconds in total if you have 6 cars. I mean, it's not the end of the world. I don't think it's still worth it, but I mean, she's not the worst. So that's been changed. I also moved E Honda to S+. From, I don't know why I had him in B before. Maybe I didn't understand how the ranged Bulletproof worked, but he's now in S+. His Bulletproof is incredible. So after testing Bulletproof with A Chun and then going back to Honda and testing that out, wow, what a difference. So definitely big change there for that. Everyone else, though, remained the same, except for Charming Dudley moved down a slot. So he went down to C with Makoto, who's in C. Now let's talk about the cars for these units, okay? So first off, cars for Flame Chun-Li, SS. Apparently, absolutely required. To do the maximum amount of damage that she does for bosses, you really, really need to get her to SS, or to get all 6 of her cars, so she becomes that hard-hitting unit. So Bookin was saying 100% the cars are SS, you need them, and they are pretty incredible. I actually looked at them, so pretty damn good for that. For Yang, honestly, you don't really need them. I'm going to put them as B, because they reduce the attacker's attack when you have a shield, and then they also do true damage back to the attacker with 6 of 6, but he's really not required. So I'm going to put him as a B, because there's no trigger interval, so it's actually decent if you have it, but it's just it's more like a completionist thing for him than anything else. A Chun, I think, if I recall, it was an S or an S plus from what I was told. So I'll put her an S for now. And I'll come back to that one on the next month if it changes. But I think an S was where we situated her. And then EvoEazzy was an SS. 100%. So this is your vehicle tier list, guys, for the month of June. Remember, things can change. For now, though, this is how we're rounding out. Oh, and Dante was actually included. I didn't have Dante in the list last time, so I put him in S plus because he does the freeze, obviously. Pretty damn important for interrupt for him. So he's almost a must-have for that, for his unit, but he's not OP enough to be in the SS category. But definitely, if you have Dante, you want to get his cars for him, especially if you have an SS or SSS, obviously, right? So there you guys have it. That tiers up. That's the tier list, the full tier list actually now for all of the month of June. If you have any questions or comments in the comment section, there's always comments on tier lists. You guys know this. Remember, it's an opinion with some testing behind it, with actually a lot of testing behind it, to be quite honest with you. And I'm not 100% perfect all the time. I'm never going to be 100% perfect. None of us are. But this is my best put together at the month of June, and hopefully for July we have more units to add into here, and then we may adjust a few of these based on more testing that people use in these characters. And I wanted to say a big shout out to the community for coming through, because a lot of you guys are reaching out to me being like, hey, look, I did some testing on this unit that you've never used or talked about. Here are some numbers I want to show you, so maybe we can either adjust the person going down or up. And it's been an amazing collaborative effort by a lot of people, so I can't say thank you enough to that. So shout out to you guys, give yourself a pat on the back. But here's your tier list, guys, and I hope to see you guys on the next one. Hey guys, sorry, minor correction on the vehicle tier list. I just went back to my notes and I realized I messed up between the two, someone else. So actually, A Chun, according to Solo, is an SS. Like, you absolutely mandatorily have to have her. So this is actually your final list right there. I apologize, guys. Long day, make mistakes, obviously. Here we go. So this is actually the final list. So this is who you're going to end up with, the top tier for cars that are must-haves, and then the rest you guys already know about. So just wanted to make that quick correction. But there you guys have it. I'll see you guys on the next tier list, hopefully in the month of July. Take care, guys.